Danger Dolan. Quayne Brown asks, Day, what exactly was the Path of the Titans? Why did they scrap the idea, and do you think Blizzard could rework and add it in a future expansion? So Path of the Titans was a feature meant to be shipped along with the launch of Cataclysm. It was basically just super powerful glyphs to replace that old talent tree, in that it would give us some game-changing benefits and passive power increases. So your character could join a cult that was dedicated to one of 6 titans, and with each titan you get 10 tiers of ancient glyphs. And each tier would have a reward, like you could either choose bandages heal for 30% more, or instead you could get a 10% AoE damage reduction for your entire party. It's just like the talent system of today, they're all related in some way. And it's basically whatever benefit is your preference. So these tiers of ancient glyphs will be rolled out over the course of an expansion. So patch 4.1, right? That would be the 8th tier, 4.2 the 9th tier, and so on. Eventually you'd have a 20% character power increase in addition to these stat benefits from gear. Ghostcrawler explained the intention of the system at the original Q&A panel at the Cataclysm BlizzCon. Check it out.
What happens is you get Wrath of the Lich King, you're jamming out your levels, you know, you get 10 levels to go, it's really, really fun, you're like constantly improving, new abilities, new ranks, new talent points, then you hit 80, and it really slows down. And, you know, you'll get loot, whether you raid or PvP, you'll slowly improve your loot over time, but basically that really fun period of leveling up has kind of come to a stop. And one way to do that is just keep making more and more levels. Hey, maybe Cataclysm gives you 15 or 20 new character levels. That would give us a headache. So instead we wanted to come up with a system that rewards progression at max level without having to necessarily go into more talent points, more abilities.
Now, what happened to Path of the Titans? Why was it scrapped? It was meant to be shipped with Archaeology. They would go hand in hand, like you would do Archaeology, then you'd be able to unlock some more tiers of Path of the Titans. But then Archaeology came out by itself and it was just a tedious grind. Well, the main reason it was scrapped is because there's little difference between this idea and traditional glyphs. They realized that just including Path of the Titans was overcomplicating glyphs as a whole, and what they were trying to do was fix inscription because they realized that it was kind of bad. So they decided to just get rid of Path of the Titans, focus on making glyphs good, and condense everything into regular glyphs. They have mentioned that they'd like to revisit the idea of character progression outside of gear, like an elite version of leveling up for level capped toons. Kind of like what Ghostcrawler just said, where you're leveling up and you're improving in power and then you just kind of stop at endgame. So here are my thoughts. I have always liked the idea of alternate character progression outside of raiding, but I feel that paths is just unnecessary. Like, we don't need more passive abilities and more shit on our hotbar. I thought about it for a while when I was dot pointing this chat box, and the problem I see is it just adds another element to min-maxing, and we have enough of it. Like, when you get a piece of gear, you have to reforge it, you have to gem it, you have to enchant it, there's a stat priority that you have to research on Noxic. If you put in Path of the Titans, that's just another layer on top of all this unnecessary garbage. The idea of alternate character progression has to do with a way to advance your character outside of your traditional raiding times, but not in the form of gear or flasks or food buffs or any of that kind of stuff. What I would really like to see is challenging content for smaller groups, you know, super hard solo scenario or dungeon challenges offer their own form of progression, like a legendary dungeon chain. So you just chain run a bunch of extremely hard dungeons with your guild group. There's some challenge mode leaderboards, you get dungeon only items and gear that give you temporary like Titan powers. Because this gear is only for dungeons, it means you can just go wild. You can have all your guild members just transform into 10-foot tall warblade wielding Tuskar people that can shoot explosions out of their fingertips, something like that. Path of the Titans implies that it's something you can work on in your free time, like permanent quests to do, archaeology missions in between legendary dungeons, and it gives cosmetic and quality of life benefits as you go. So to summarize, Paths wasn't fixing anything. Alternate character progression should not affect min-maxing in raids, but it should still offer a challenging incentive for you to work on between raids, just like the legendary cloak chain. That's it for this chat box. If you'd like to see me cover a game related topic really quick, leave a comment below. Have a good one.